Okay, I'm running on YouTube, Twitch is off. I'm going back to my Steelfinder idea. I've been noodling about it for about an hour or so, but I want to. I guess this will be about an hour, maybe. Okay, let's go over this from the beginning. The purpose of this document is to concept out the Pathfinder 2e themes and trappings in Drawsteel's power roll system while keeping as much as possible as it is. Of course, a lot of things need to change to compensate, and probably many things will need to change on the fly to accommodate it, but I believe that this could still make the game more fluid, more engaging, and more fun. The idea is to follow the process of Savage Pathfinder, or Pathfinder role-playing for Savage Worlds, to deliver a Pathfinder experience in a simpler yet just as intricate system. I shall not be reproducing all the rules, neither from Drawsteel Heroes nor from Drawsteel Heroes and Monsters, nor from Pathfinder's 2e player core from Drawsteel Heroes Monsters, nor from Pathfinder 2e player Monsters GM core or Savage Pathfinder core rulebook, or any other book in their orbit, mostly because the material from Savage Pathfinder, mostly because Savage Worlds is OGL, because the material mostly because Savage Worlds is OGL, so consider this more of a conversion guide from your Pathfinder 2e game into Drawsteel. Into a Drawsteel-like framework. If you're familiar with Drawsteel, you could skip several paragraphs explaining the rules of the system that are specifically addressed to Pathfinder 2e players interested in porting their game. However, some things, including skills representation and power roll outcomes, are changed to accommodate some of the mechanics PF2E players like in their system, or trappings of the default world that are not addressed completely by the original system. However, some things are changed to accommodate some of the mechanics, PF2E players like in their system, or trappings of the default world that are not addressed completely by the original system, such as skill proficiency ranks, progression, as well as ancestries, heritages, such as skill proficiency ranks, power roll outcomes, progression, as well as ancestries, heritages, and subclasses. Each chapter will start with a sidebar noting changes Drawsteel players will want to pay attention to. This material is in no way sponsored, approved, or in any way acknowledged by either MCDM or Paizo Inc. and is entirely homebrew, fan-created, and unofficial. My intention is not to infringe on any copyright unless someone wants to offer me a publishing deal. Call me. But then it won't be infringed. Call me. Steelfinder is an independent product. It uses the Drawsteel creative license from the first printing of Drawsteel Heroes and Drawsteel Monsters, 2025-08-02. Pathfinder 2e license is Orc, and it's kind of weird. Why when I click back matter on my file, it takes me to conditions appendix? Conditions appendix. Conditions shouldn't be an appendix. With that, I agree. Persistent damage. Gaining and losing actions. The character sheet. Character sheet. Wait. Delete this. There is a condition appendix. This link is wrong. This is the index. This is the orc. Okay. So the orc on the player call is weirding me out. Orc license. Can someone explain it to me? In the book it says attribution they want credit they list the credit to the people. Preserved material elements in this product include all elements designed as preserved materials under the orc license. To avoid confusion, such items include all trademarks, registered trademarks, proper nouns, as well as all adjectives, names, titles, and descriptive terms derived from proper nouns. Fine. Artworks, characters, dialogue, locations, organizations, plot, storylines, and trade dress. Expressly designated license material. No expressly designated license material. Okay. Licensed materials mean any material contained in a work that would otherwise constitute reserved material, but that has been expressly designated as licensed material by that material's licensor. Those expressions reasonably necessary to convey functional ideas and the methods of operation of the game that are contained in the work that are comprised of systems, procedures, processes, rules, laws, instructions, heuristics, routines, functional elements, commands, structures, principles, methodologies, operations, devices, and concepts of play, and the limitations, restraints, constraints, allowances, and affordances inherent in gameplay, include but not limited to expressions describing the functions of or providing instructions as to the following. Creation and play of player and non-player characters. Systems of classifications applicable to gameplay. Methods of determining success, failure, or outcome. Methods and mediums by which players play the game. So is that material that I'm supposed to use, or that they're using? Derivative work. Adapted licensed materials. The term licensor hereby grants you a worldwide royalty-free, non-sublicensable, non-exclusive, irrevocable license to exercise licensed rights in the licensed materials to use the licensed materials in whole or in part that may be terminated only as set forth in Section 5A for your breach. Authorizes you to exercise the license rights in all media formats, whether now known or hereafter created, and to make technical modifications necessary to do so. Licensor hereby waives or agrees to not assert any right or authority to forbid you from making technical modifications necessary to exercise the licensed rights. Interesting. Including technical modifications necessary to circumvent effective technological measures. So what is the difference between licensed material and expressly designated licensed material? Any material contained in a water would otherwise considered reserved material, but it has been expressly designated as licensed material. Derivative works that use all adapted licensed materials means derivative works that use all or any portion of the licensed material that you create or publish to the limited extent that such derivative work would otherwise constitute those forms of licensed material set forth in section 1E. Adapted licensed materials expressly excludes works that would constitute reserved material. Why can't you write it in human language too? You hereby receive an offer from the licensor to exercise the licensed material on the express condition that you do, and hereby grant to every recipient of the adapted licensed material an irrevocable offer to exercise the licensed rights in the adapted licensed material under the terms and conditions hereof, pursuant to which such adapted licensed materials shall be licensed as licensed. Oh my god. I just don't want to mess with this. I don't want to handle this. It's just too much. Okay, I was on key terms. It uses the raw steel creator license because it's written like a human being. It does not use any material covered by the orc license and the material covered and coverable by the orc license. Mostly because it's not written for humans. Any original content contained in this document that is not taken from the Draw Steel Heroes and or Monsters book is copyrighted to me. All other rights reserved. Basics. For Draw Steel players, skills have values and are not just static bonus. And are not static bonus. There are now tiers 0 to 4 of power roll outcomes. Edges and Banes have some classified types. Glossary index is moved to the end. Okay. Excuse me. Some content from the tests chapter has been moved here. Skills should be under making a hero. In Dustin, what you know as attributes are called characteristics, which is a horrible name. I have to do something about this. I have to do something about this. Hang on a second. The first one contain a flare. Discussion. Yeah, this game should be flashing. Characteristic. The name of the characteristics are a blessing. The iconic heroes of each class. Anyone else finding the keyword a bit intimidating? Respite consumables, maneuvers and skill questions. Anything reset. Is no one complaining about this name? Is anyone calling characteristics something else? I know the idea is to differentiate from abilities or attributes that have a different meaning here, but maybe it's me not being a native English speaker. I find that the word characteristics doesn't, the word characteristics doesn't quite flow easily. It's actually getting it's actually doesn't quite flow easily. It's getting painful to say it over and over. Did anyone think of a better name for this? Is characteristics the best we got? Characteristic. So what did we say? Synonym. Synonym. Trait. We use that for ancestry. Feature. No. Attribute. Is attribute used in any way throughout the book? Not replace. Attribute. Attributed to him. This is in domains. And then nothing. That's it. I'm gonna go with attribute. It's annoying. Characteristics are now called attributes because that's easier to say. Attributes. But that word is way too long and sticky. Still. Strength becomes might, dexterity becomes agility, constitution is dropped, intelligence becomes reason, wisdom becomes intuition, and charisma becomes presence. Using them is quite the same. The circumstances for using them is quite the same. Are quite the same. Attribute scores. Each attribute has a score that runs from -5 to 5. The higher the score, the more impact a creature has with that attribute. A baby bunny rabbit would have a might score of -5, while an ancient dragon would have a might score of 5. The average human has a score of 0 in all their characteristics, in all their attributes. More infrared creature is with that attribute. This does not necessarily mean that a person with might 1 is physically stronger than a person with might 0. A baby bunny rabbit will have might score -5, blah, blah, blah. Average human has score 0 in all attributes. Attribute scores are added to power rolls. The dice rolls you make whenever your character attempts a task with an uncertain outcome, see checks power roll below. See power roll. Don't need to. This game uses 10-sided dice, also called d10s. Each player, including the director, should have 2 of these. Some 10-sided dice are numbered 0 to 9, while others are numbered 1 to 10. In the case of the former, a 0 counts as a 10. The game also makes occasional use of d6s, d3s, for which you can use d6s but 3, 1, 2 as 1, 3 to 4 as 2, and 5 to 6 as 3, and also d100s. So it's helpful if each player has 1 or 2 of those as well. If you don't have d100s, grab 2d10s. Decide which die represents the tens digit, with the other die representing the ones digit. For instance, if you roll a 5 for a tens digit and a 3 for the ones digit, the number rolled is 53. Some 10-sided dice are numbered 0 to 9, while others are numbered 1 to 10. For the latter type of dice, if you use a d10 numbered 1 to 10, if you use a d10 numbered 1 to 10 for a d100 roll, a 10 counts as a 0 for the purpose of rolling a d100. D10 counts as a 0. For instance, if a 10 is rolled for the tens digit and a 9 is rolled for the ones digit, the number rolled is 09, 09. If both dice rolled show a 0 or 10, then the number is 100. power roll replaces the d20 checks and rolls differently than what you're used to. The most glaring thing is that DCs and defenses no longer exist. Okay, I'm gonna skip the key terms for now. I'm gonna skip the example of play. I'm gonna skip the using. Does Drew still have a using section? I don't see a using chapter. I like that. I think it's weird. It should be self-explanatory. Format of rules. The name-specific statistics, skills, feats, actions, and some other mechanical elements Pathfinder are capitalized. This way, when you see a statement like a strike targets armor class, you know that both strike and armor class are referring to rules. Rules format. If you see a capitalized word in this document, it means it refers to the specific rules term and not something generic. For example, weapon is anything from a rock or stick to what's it called? Not the level treasures. Are they artifacts? Yes, artifacts. To an artifact sword that was used to kill a kingdom. Weapon. However, weapon refers to the keyword, the rules surrounding it, the rules surrounding it, and referencing it. Actions. All these important terms are detailed and linked in the glossary index. didn't I allow that? I added an extension, didn't I? No, I didn't. And linked in the glossary index. Yeah, I think I should talk about actions. Let's do it after power rolls. Actions. The we call it the 3-action system. Activities. The 3-action system. I think I'm gonna keep. I think I am gonna keep. It's something that Pathfinder players really like. Uh, Characters and adversaries affect the world of Pathfinder using actions and producing effects. This is especially the case during encounters. When every action counts, when you use an action, you generate an effect. Blah, 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 blah. I need to use different icons. How do I explain it in a simple way? Draw Steel has different actions used for different things. different abilities. The glossary index. Let's go blah 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 and then straight into it. Ability. Special main action maneuvers and more that the creature can use to affect others. I don't want to say main actions of maneuvers and any specific feature, power, any specific, any generated, any feature, any specific feature to an ancestry culture, career, class, item, etc. not covered by the general rules used to create an effect used to affect creatures, objects, and the environment or the environment that is not covered by general rule. Used for different abilities. But this system will use we are keeping the three actions system. Three actions system. We're keeping the three. I hate motherfuckers. We're keeping the three actions system as it's a fan favorite. Every turn is composed of three actions. Each turn, you can take three one actions, one two action, and one action. No, this should be like this. One three action, or even pass on some. Reactions are now called triggered actions. Action. Features. You use abilities. Freaking backgrounds. Find the freaking. Thank you. Abilities. to use can take a 1 action, 2 action, or 3 action. Can take an amount of time of which one measure is in actions. No actions. During an encounter. There are one action, 2 action, and 3 actions. One measure of is in actions. An encounter, one measure, fine. In actions, in an encounter. Also see activity, free action, free action, triggered actions, activity, abilities you use. What's on my T button? You use abilities you use that take more time than an encounter or extended encounter. See exploration, negotiation, and downtime for their respective actions. Activities. God damn it. What is wrong with all these keys? I did spill some water today on these array of keys. Actions are now called triggered actions. Free actions can either be do we have a regular free action? Or is that not a thing? Free strike, free triggered actions, free maneuver. Free maneuvers, free triggered actions. Or free triggered actions. This is relevant for referencing the type of action. They are still considered to take no time at all if the situation allows you to use them. Any type of action you have that is free can be used by spending a one action. I wonder if I can do from the template, take this A and make it into for spending a one action. and any triggered action. Any type of action that you have that is free or is a triggered action can be used on your turn by spending your triggered actions or a one action. In Draw Steel, when you go to triggered actions, an action creature can use on any turn, including their own, but only when a specific trigger occurs. Each creature can use one triggered action per round. Page 267. Free maneuvers, no action activities. Triggered actions. 267 is under combat. Interaction you can have that is free or is triggered or is a triggered action can be used on your turn by spending your triggered action or a one action. You can still only use one triggered action per round. For more, see combat. Actions and activities. Tools, preferences, substitution, VV to V. Does not help. Activities refers to only to activity synonym. Conditioning, exercise, workout. Not what I mean. Not that kind of activity. Exertion, hustle, labor, motion. Endeavor. Task. Yeah, sure, let's use tasks. Only two tasks performed outside of an extended encounter. From the side of an extended encounter. Encounter. A type of scene that is measured in rounds. And whose and whose order of operations is supremely important. How does that still sit? They don't say encounter. Do you say combat? Combat round. A common. A common encounter is combat. Extended encounter. A series of encounters, one after another, with no other scenes between them. Scene. General term describing encounters, extended encounters, exploration, negotiation, and downtime, which are different ways of measuring time, abstract time in the game. They can either be exploration activity, negotiation activity, or downtime activity. Okay, we're going to get to formatting later, the actual formatting of how things are written. Character creation. Okay, so before we go into Okay, before we go into that, let's finish up with the basic rules. Maybe I should do this as a proper table. Insert table. 6. All of these should be centered. This should be bold. Proficiency rank, proficiency bonus. Untrained, 0. Always correct to untrained. Trained, 1. Expert, 2. Master, 3. Legendary, 4. Okay, let's start going over this. Dice, power rolls. The power roll replaces the D20 checks and works differently than what you're used to. The most glaring thing is that DCs and defenses are no longer exist. Are gone. This game uses 2 types of power rolls. An ability roll is used when you use certain abilities to determine their impact. For instance, if a Fury uses their Brutal Slam ability to strike an enemy, their ability roll determines how much damage the enemy takes and how far back the enemy is pushed. No. Abilities will always be specifically named, whether they are signature abilities, heroic abilities, or anything else. A test is a power roll. Test is a power roll you make outside of bolded terms, specific to note terms explained in that specific section. A test power roll you make outside of using your abilities to affect or interact with the world around you. If you don't have a specific ability that says you can climb a cliff, climbing can be attempted with a test. When you make a power roll, you roll a 2d10 and add one of your characteristics and, if relevant, a proficiency rank. Plus skills. Proficiency rank. You roll 2d10 and, if relevant, a skills proficiency rank. As the power roll system skews so much lower numbers than PF2E's then the D20 system, the bonus assigned to each proficiency rank is reduced. I think I might need to actually reduce this, because this doesn't allow me a lot of content. 'Document title 20. Heading 4, 12. Well, it looks fine when it's printed, I guess. Fine. 10. Wait. Heading 1, 16. Heading 2. Is also 16? Just without the underline? Heading. They don't have to do that. It's a simple city bike. They're making so much noise. There is a lowrider in this neighborhood, and they drive so quietly. It's possible. You don't have to do that. Heading 3, size 14. And I already said heading 4 is 12. update heading 4. Set as default styles. Okay. So. Wait, shit. Why are you like this? How do I fix this? Alignment, indentation options, special indent hanging, none. What the hell am I doing? Okay. Power rolls outcomes. The total of power roll determines your outcome tier. 5 levels that determine how successful your power roll is. Can I do that less of a thing? Less of an indentation? Like half of that? Tier 0. If your power roll is a total of 3 or lower, it's the worst outcome and it's the rarest. In an ability roll, it means in an ability roll, it means you probably hurt yourself or hinder your allies, and in a test, it will incur a bad consequence. If your power roll is between 4 and 11, it is a minimal result, something that could happen with a really bad roll or trying something you're bad at. An ability roll will do very little and might hurt you, and in a test, it means you've achieved a trifle but incur the cost or hindered an ally. If your power roll is between 12 and 17, it's an average result and your most probable result for most of the game. An ability will do average damage and effect, and in a test it means you made meaningful progress. Tier 3. If your power roll is between 19 and 24, it's a great result and is quite possible with rolls you're good at or in later levels. Very possible. An ability will do good damage and have a strong effect, while in a test you will get good progress and might get an additional benefit. If your power roll is 25 or higher, it's an amazing result and it's only possible with a good roll in something you're the best at or with other benefits. An ability does maximum damage, the strongest, longest lasting effect, and in a test you'll make the best progress and get something extra in addition. A natural roll is the result on the dice before any other additions. Regardless of the result total, a natural 2 on the dice downgrades the result 1 tier, and a natural 20 upgrades the result 1 tier. A natural 2 is an automatic downgrade, while a natural 20 is an automatic upgrade. Save as default. Okay. Natural. Natural roll. The result on the dice rolled, the sum result on the dice rolled before adding any attributes, your might, agility, a different name for characteristic. See why can't you do attributes? For adding any attributes, skills, edges, banes, or other modifiers. Downgrade. Downgraded power roll uses a tier, uses an outcome, uses the outcome of the tier 1 lower than was rolled. A natural 2 is an automatic downgrade, while natural 20 is an automatic upgrade. Upgrade. An upgraded power roll uses the outcome of the tier 1 higher than was rolled. Maximum 4. Power roll. The basic dice system. Basic dice system. using 2d10s plus attributes, skills, and edges and banes. Automatically correct attributes. When you get a result here on the power roll, you can always choose a result from a lower tier. If you roll a tier 4 but you're able to use something at tier 3 that you would rather have, you can choose to use the tier 3 result instead. You always take the entire result. You can't separate a result to take the damage from one tier and the effect from another. Edges and banes. Edge, double edge. Bane. A whole modifier outside of the character's attributes and skills. First edge adds +2. The first edge adds +2, and the second upgrades the result. All modifiers outside characters attributes and skills. The first Bane adds +2, and the second upgrades the results. Okay, and I'm gonna stop here because it's been it's an hour and a half and I'm tired, and I kind of want to eat something. And yeah, I need to do some things before I sleep. So I'll actually try to do this more often because it actually helps me do it, and I should do it earlier in the day. So hopefully see you tomorrow early morning. Till then, stay good and have fun. This scene collection does not have an outro, so